So we're going to take a look at the former Yugoslavia. And again, there is no basics chart for this because of the number of countries that make up what used to be Yugoslavia. Does anybody remember how many countries there are right now? Based on your reading and your assignment yesterday, anybody remember how many countries there are in what used to be Yugoslavia? Yes. 7. It'd take forever if we tried to look at all 7 of them, but we're going to be looking at the region in general. We're going to look at the people, and then we're going to look at its history, because the history is probably the most important thing to understand, because it does involve the United States. So everybody should have their notebooks out, ready to go. The former Yugoslavia. So, former Yugoslavia, we're going to actually look at the people first. Going to give you a little background into the kinds of people that are there. Yugoslavia is made up of a lot of different people. If I look around this room, I know that there's a huge variety of ethnic groups. Many of you, like me, have a wide variety of ethnic groups built into yourself. I'm French, German, Polish, and Swedish. All mixed together. Yugoslavia was just like that. And we can break down the people in Yugoslavia into 2 basic groups. We have a group called the Slavs. Slavs? You already know about this group. Poles are Slavs. Russians are Slavs. Serbs are Slavs. We've just been using the adjective, which is Slavic. They are a Slavic people, but if we want to talk about the name of the group, they are the Slavs. And in Yugoslavia, there's a large group of Slavs. You have Croats, you have Slovenes, you have Serbs, you have Bosnians, you have Macedonians. These are all Slavic people. They are Slavs. They are all Slavic people. They are Slavs. They are related to Poles and the Czechs and the Serbs. Then there's one other group that sort of doesn't match the rest. It's sort of like those games that you play. You look at a picture and try to figure out what doesn't fit, what doesn't belong. Or if you remember watching Sesame Street, they had the little song, "One of these things is not like the other." Anybody remember from your reading what group of people is not like the rest of them? Yeah. It does start with an A. You're right. You're right. It does start with an A. It's not Argentinians, but you are on the right track. Albanians. Good. Yes, Albanians. Albanians are not Slavs. Albanians. And there are no subgroups that we're going to talk about. Albanians are just Albanians. Like saying Poles or Czechs. They are not related to those other people in Yugoslavia. So that's the people. Now, another way that Yugoslavia is sort of divided up, or the former Yugoslavia was divided up, we had all these different ethnic groups. Ethnic groups based on blood. It's in your genetics, your ethnic groups. What was another way the people in Yugoslavia were divided up that isn't in your blood? You can't do a DNA test for this. You can't go to a crime scene, pick up the blood and say, "Aha! I know exactly what blank this person was," because it's in their blood. Right? Religion, yes. So let's take a look at the religions, because Yugoslavia was a huge mixture of religions as well. And just to be clear, when I looked at when I went over the ethnic groups, there are still other ethnic groups that are there, subgroups, that we're not going to deal with. Those are the main ones. But religions. One of the religions is Serbian, blah, 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 blah. Serbian, blah, 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 blah. The religion? There you go. Serbian Orthodoxy. Which is very similar to another religion that we had in another country. Nate? No, it's not related to Roman Catholicism. It's related to Greek Orthodoxy. So Serbian Orthodoxy, today, it can be found in the countries of Serbia and Montenegro. Serbian Orthodoxy can be found in Serbia and Montenegro. What's another religion in this region? The same religion as Poland, Hungary, Ireland, and France. And Italy, too. Roman Catholicism, good, yes. Roman Catholicism. And Roman Catholicism is the main religion in Croatia and Slovenia, or Slovenia. Yes. We really didn't focus much on Italy, but we've already talked about a little bit of, that was Western Europe, so we're not going to go into Italy anymore. Yep. I was just commenting that Italy is also Roman Catholic. What's the last religion in this region? It's a religion we haven't talked about much yet. It's the main religion of the Middle East. Starts with an I. Alex? Islam, yes. Islam is the main religion of the country with the longest name in this region, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and Kosovo. Bosnia-Herzegovina and Kosovo. So Serbian Orthodoxy in Serbia and Montenegro, Roman Catholicism in Croatia and Slovenia, and Islam in Bosnia-Herzegovina and Kosovo. What would be a good term to describe all the people in the former Yugoslavia? See, all these religions, all those ethnic groups, what would be a word to describe the people in the former Yugoslavia? Yeah. Mixed. It is one jumbled mess of people. Now, you need to keep that in mind as we look at the history. This is a town, by the way, in the former Yugoslavia. The bridge there was destroyed during a war that I'll talk about. This town has Muslims in it because this is a mosque, which is a Muslim church. And this is a very, very old bridge here in the picture. But in terms of history, remember when we looked at Europe at the beginning and we said, okay, there was this war started by a, what? Serb terrorist. Well, guess what? That Serb terrorist is in former Yugoslavia. That's where it happened, Sarajevo. And World War I Afterwards, when it was finished, remember how we saw the map of Europe change with lots of countries created? And if you remember right, I said, here are some countries, and then here's a fake one that was created. Yugoslavia was a fake country that was created after World War I. And I call it fake because all the other countries were created based on the ethnic groups in that country. Austria had Austrians. Hungary had the Hungarians or the Magyars. Poland had the Poles. Yugoslavia had a huge mix of people that they just put together. Problem is, they hated each other. They did not get along. It was created out of parts of Austria-Hungary, which was one country, Serbia, and Montenegro. Basically, after World War I, the leaders in Europe got together and said, okay, let's create this country, throw everybody together since we can't separate them because they're all mixed together. So the country itself was all mixed up. This country that they created had a name. The name of the country was Yugoslavia. It's based on two words, Yugo and Slav. Yugo is a Russian as well as Serbian and Croatian word for south or southern. Slavia, land of Slavs. So Yugoslavia literally meant land of the southern Slavs, land of the southern Slavic people. So we'll just throw in the Croats and the Serbs and the Montenegrins and the Macedonians and the Bosnians. But were all the people Slavs? Were all the people Slavic? What group was not Slavic that also got thrown into this country? What group? We already talked about it today. What group? Ashley. The Albanians, yes, so they're not all Slavs. Now, it's a mixture of many different ethnic groups. And historically, these ethnic groups have not liked each other very much. Now they're all thrown together in one country and said, get along. They're thrown together and told, just get along. Now I have a map for you to see. Every color on this map is a different ethnic group in what used to be called Yugoslavia. Where it is white, they are so mixed together that you cannot tell or you cannot say that there's a majority of one group or the other. Notice we have Albanians, Bulgarians, Croats, Hungarians, Macedonians, Montenegrins. Muslims here would be Bosnians, Serbs, Slovaks, and Slovenes. All these people thrown together in one country. The reason why they threw them together is because you couldn't really put borders up around the different groups. Look at where the Serbs are. Serbs are this pinkish, purplish color. There's a big chunk in Serbia, but there's a hunk over here north of Montenegro, and then up here in what is now Croatia and Bosnia. They're like all over the place. And where it's white, they were so intermixed that there's no way you could put borders around them. So the smart people said, let's just throw them all together in one country. And that's what they did. So they're all together in one country. And they have a strong leader to keep them together. And that works because all the other countries around Yugoslavia are being controlled by whom? Who's controlling all the other countries around Yugoslavia in Eastern Europe during the Cold War? Victor, the Soviet Union. So everybody around there is being controlled by a strong leader. So Yugoslavia also has a strong leader. The Soviet Union does not control Yugoslavia, but its leaders are very strong. But then what happens in the late 1980s and early 1990s in this region? 89 in Poland, East Germany, Czechoslovakia. What's happening, Doug? Okay, the other countries in the region are breaking away from the Soviet control. So the people in Yugoslavia are saying, hey, if they can break away from the Soviet Union, we don't have to put up with being told what to do anymore by our leader. And so starting in around 1990, Yugoslavia begins to break up. All those ethnic groups that you saw on that map and that we've listed started arming themselves and attacking themselves and killing everybody. You basically get a civil war breaking out. The Civil War officially starts in 1991. Croats attack Slovenes, who attack Serbs, who attack Bosnians. Sometimes it's ethnically based. Sometimes it's religiously based. Serbs attack Bosnians because they're Muslim. Serbs attack Albanians because they're Muslims. Croats attack Serbs because they're Serbs. And it's a huge battle. The war has its first fighting in Bosnia-Herzegovina. Can anybody figure out why? Why would the worst fighting be in Bosnia-Herzegovina? Got a couple hands here. I'll come back to this slide. I'm just going to back up a little bit here. Again, boom. The region of Bosnia-Herzegovina, you can see it on this map. Why do you think the worst fighting for the Civil War was there? Maybe this map can help you think about it a little better. Jordan. There are more groups in there. Yes, you got lots of groups in here. That's part of it. Also, there's something else. There is something else. Yeah. Yeah, take a look. The white areas, those are where it is so mixed that you can't really say there's one group that's larger than the other. It's like a Serb living next to a Croat, living next to an Albanian, living next to a Bosnian. They're living all in the same neighborhood, and now suddenly they're all at war with each other. Think about the street that you live on. Think about all the houses going to war with each other. Oh, there are people that live by you. Well, maybe a mile away, but that's still, that fighting is going to be the worst because you're right next to your enemy. So the fighting is constant. Bosnia-Herzegovina was the site of the worst fighting in the Civil War. And as a result, during the Civil War, especially from Bosnia-Herzegovina, we even have people in Forest Lake that came here to avoid the war. I've had students from Bosnian families who fled the Civil War and moved to Forest Lake to flee against being killed. You had Croats who were Roman Catholic. Battling Serbs who are what? Anybody remember what the Serbs are? This one's one of the easiest religions to remember because it contains their name. Sammy. The Serbs are Serbians, but the Serbs in terms of religion would be... Michaela? Yes, Serbian Orthodox. The Serbs are Serbian Orthodox. They follow Serbian Orthodoxy. And then we have Bosnians. See, Bosnia, land of the Bosnians. Bosnians are Muslim. All three of them battling it out. Some of it based on ethnic groups, some of it based on religion. The Serbs are the nastiest out of the group in terms of what they try to do. They try to totally kill every single Bosnian, men, women, children, during the Civil War. They try to perform something that starts with a G, where you try to totally kill an entire ethnic group. Trying to kill an entire ethnic group is called genocide, yes. And so the Serbs committed or attempted genocide against the Bosnians because they were Muslim. The Serbs tried to kill all the Bosnians. There are even examples of where they'd go into a village and take all the men and boys out to the soccer field, for example, have them turn away from where the Serbs were, and they were all shot. They killed the men only. Why? Why kill the men? Victor? Well, no, the men and the boys were all killed. Well, they were Muslim, but why? What's the point of killing the men and the boys? Job? Somewhat so that they can't retaliate. Espen? That's like retaliation, fighting back. Maybe that they want to protect their families, but there's something even more basic. So that they could not reproduce and make any more Bosnians. A lot of the women were raped in this war and then killed. But they tried to remove all the men, as many men as they could at times, so that they could not make any more Bosnians. And a lot of times they would kill the men and bury them in a mass grave and not tell anybody where they were. Many, many years afterwards, people digging suddenly would find hundreds, if not thousands, of bodies buried underground. There's a trial going on right now in the Netherlands, trying some of the leaders of the Bosnian, or of the Serbs, for murder. He says it wasn't murder. Victor, you had a question. Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. We're in the war. 1991, the war begins. The war ends in 1995. So 4 years, basically, of them killing each other, slaughtering each other. Men, women, children. In terms of who wins, nobody really wins. Things settle down. They say we can't go on. Let's just try to find a solution that works. And so in 1995, they create some new countries. They say, okay, fine, you don't have to live together anymore. Here are the new countries that we will create. And hopefully, people within those countries will get along. Some do, some don't. Countries in 1995 that are created. Croatia, Slovenia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Yugoslavia, and Macedonia. Slovenia is straightforward. They really didn't have much fighting. They get along with each other because they're mostly all together in one region. Croatia, a little bit of fighting, but they pretty much get along. Bosnia-Herzegovina, you have troops in between each other trying to keep the peace. They came up with a system where each group would have a certain amount of representation, and the Serbs aren't necessarily happy with this. Yugoslavia is now smaller, but it still exists, and Macedonia. And so the new map of this region looks like this. Oh, sorry. The map will come up later, I guess. Victor, you had a question? Serbs and Bosnians still don't totally get along, but they're working through it. There isn't as much killing today. Now, there's an area in Yugoslavia in 1995 called Kosovo. And there is a group of Albanians. And they wanted their independence. But they didn't get it in 95. So they kept fighting for their independence against the Serbs. The Serbs and the Albanians continued to fight. Kosovo at this time was in part of Yugoslavia, in the southern part. They said, we want to be free. Serbia said, no, you're part of our country, Yugoslavia. They could do that because the Albanians in Kosovo didn't have much for weapons. And why did the Serbs in Yugoslavia want to hold on to Kosovo? Because historically, back in the 1300s, there was a big battle against Turkey that took place there. And so it's part of their history, even though they lost the battle. That's why they want to hold on to it. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but not everything in the world does. Since the Kosovo Albanians wanted their independence, and they had rebel forces, they had terrorist groups fighting for it, the Yugoslav army started to attack not just the militants, but also women and children and old people as well. They started attacking people as well. Here is a map to show you. Here's the new country of Croatia. Here's Slovenia. Yugoslavia was all of this, including the light blue area. So this was Yugoslavia at 1995. Notice Bosnia-Herzegovina has these little lines in it that divide it up, trying to keep it so that people are not fighting anymore. But inside of Yugoslavia, there's a region called Kosovo. It's light blue here. They wanted independence. Their people are related to the people in Albania. They are Albanians. They are also Muslim. The same religion that the people in Serbia were trying to kill in Bosnia-Herzegovina. So, after 1995, they were still fighting in this region, in Kosovo. The Yugoslav army attacks civilians, attacks men, women, children, old, young. People that don't have weapons are being attacked. Eventually, the United States gets involved. They looked at what was happening and said, wait a minute, this is not right. We need to protect these people, the men, women, children, because they're being picked on. And so the United States, along with its friends, its allies, also known as NATO, go in and start bombing Yugoslavia. We take out their airports, their radar stations, their power plants. And we say we will continue to bomb them until they stop attacking the Kosovo Albanians. So far we've had this fake country being created and then going into a civil war, the civil war ending, but part of the fighting still continues. Like I said yesterday, this can get complicated. War is not an easy thing. 1999, NATO, which are our friends, our allies, Canada, Great Britain, France, Germany, etc., bombed Yugoslavia to end their attacks on the ethnic Albanians. Yugoslavia has no choice but to stop. Starting in 1999, the people there are protected by the U.S. Kosovo, that region in southern, what was then Yugoslavia, from 1999 to 2007, was protected by UN troops and NATO troops. NATO being United States, Great Britain, France, Germany, Spain, etc. So since 99, the United States has had troops in Kosovo protecting the people that live there. So that the Yugoslav army can't go in. Then in, yes. No, some other things happened. There are still U.S. troops in Kosovo. Because we're part of a NATO and UN mission there. And there have actually been some movies about it. I don't remember the names of them. But we do have troops. We do not have as many troops, not nearly as many as in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's a small number. But we're there as a peacekeeping. We try to keep Serbs away from Kosovo Albanians and that. But in February 2008, Kosovo declares its independence. They said, okay, fine, we are now a new country. We are free. About 63 countries, I think, 60 some countries have actually recognized Kosovo as an independent country. Others have not, and still say it is part of Serbia or part of Yugoslavia. Serbia, do you think Serbia or Yugoslavia liked the idea of an independent Kosovo? No. And their friend, if you think back all the way to World War I, their big friend didn't like it either. Anybody remember who the big friend was? Remember? Serb terrorist attacks. Give me the Serb terrorists. No, boo, boo. If you attack us, our big friend will attack you. More hands, more hands. That's good, that's good. Who was it? Russia, yes. And so Serbia and Russia were against Kosovo independence. Serbia today and Russia today still consider that part of Serbia or part of Yugoslavia. The reason why it says Serbia up here is because Yugoslavia changed its name. And we'll get into that in a little bit. Between 1999 and 2007, Yugoslavia becomes known as Serbia. Now, the United States and the European Union favored independence for Kosovo. So if you look at the United Nations and a map of the world, there will be some differences in terms of whether Kosovo is or is not a country. They have their own government, they have their own national anthem, they have their own constitution, but not every country agrees with it. It is officially, according to the United States, the newest country in the world. Not even 2 years old. Its GDP per capita right now is about $2,000. It's not a rich country yet, because it's still trying to create itself. In June of 2006, Montenegro left Yugoslavia, which meant that the only part of Yugoslavia that was left in 2006 was a region called Serbia. So the people in Serbia said, well, why should we be called Yugoslavia, land of the Southern Slavs, when it's just Serbs here? So they renamed themselves to Serbia. Very complicated, long, mixed up sort of history. Fake country created after World War I becomes 7 countries today. Hodgepodge of various ethnic groups and religions that like to kill each other. So today, this is what the map looks like. Montenegro is a separate country here. Kosovo is, according to the United States, a separate country. Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia-Herzegovina. Macedonia, also known as the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia. Questions, because I know this can be complicated. Trying to make it as simple as possible. Jordan. Why doesn't Russia and Serbia team up on Kosovo and try to take it over? Because that would probably start a war between the United States and Russia. What? However, we are part of, 1, the United Nations is there, and 2, NATO. So if anybody attacks a NATO country, all of our friends join in too. And so it would, that kind of action would probably lead to like a 3rd World War, which is something that nobody wants. Nate. In the Adriatic, I don't know about mines. Like along here, I don't know. One thing to notice on this map, notice Bosnia-Herzegovina is not landlocked. It does have a little tiny access to the sea. But Croatia is all around it. There are still problems in this region in terms of each of these countries getting along, because they're still sort of mixed up. It's been 10 years since the Civil War ended for most of the country, but 10 years is not a lot of time when you think about how deadly it was and how much hatred there was between everybody. Doug. Kosovo does not have its own money right now. It basically just uses euros that are produced in other parts of Europe, except there are some Serbs in Kosovo, and there are some Serbs that live up here and down here. And those Serbs refuse to use euros. They use Serbian money, Serbian dinars. The Serbian stores take Serbian money. And so it's still, it's almost like it's not totally together as a country yet. Because normally a country produces its own money. It says, here's the official money. They're not doing that right now. They are borrowing money that's produced someplace else. In terms of major industries, they have one main thing besides service industries, and that is coal. Kosovo has the second largest source of coal in Europe. On Monday, we'll deal with the assignment, yes. Kosovo? Kosovo is probably, Kosovo has 2 million people, so it's about the size of the metro area in terms of population. In terms of area, I would say that it's probably no larger than the metro area. I can quickly see if I can find the info for you. Let's see here. But I do not believe that it is much larger than the metro area. And of course I mistyped it, but it came up. Let's see here. It is about 11,000 square kilometers. Don't forget about all of your assignments for Monday. Have a good Thanksgiving.